and welcome back to FiddleUP. I'm Emerald Ray, and today we're going to be learning a slip jig called Soggy's, which is a very funny name. And so this tune is written by Sean Graham. Og means like little or junior, or that it's that sort of translation into Irish. So Sean Graham is Sean Og Graham. That's it's a little bit of a nickname sort of thing. So, at some point he got the nickname Soggy, and I think this is it's tribute to that nickname. I'm not sure if it's a very common nickname, or it sounds like a band joke to me. It sounds like one of those names that you would have gotten either as a kid or in the band van. So, that, as far as I know, is the story behind this tune. That is what I've heard. So, this tune is called Soggy's. It's a really beautiful slip jig. Like, it's really just gorgeously constructed. And it sounds modern, but also, has some older qualities to it, and just using some really interesting rhythmic patterns in the B part that you don't find in normal slip jigs that, gives it that modern sound, but also makes it just extremely danceable. Like, this is a great dance tune. So even though it's modern sounding, it works extremely well for dancing. And, this is one that I would pull out at any point to play if I was playing for dancers, dancing a slip jig, because it's just so pleasant. And the way that those sort of the off rhythms happen in the B part just gives so much lift and character. And it's really just a brilliant tune. Like, it's really just really beautifully well constructed, but not hard to play, which is exciting. So, even though in the B part, the rhythm might take a little time to get used to, it's not difficult on the fingers. We have a high G sharp, a high third finger. But other than that, there's really nothing major. This tune is really easy and pleasant to play. So it's in the key of A major. So we're going to start off on our first finger on the D string. That is your E. So this tune is going to give ample opportunities for rolls and for slides. And if you haven't checked those out yet, head over to the technique section. Sorry, my radios are clacking away here. It's cold here in Vermont. And the heating is struggling to keep up. So the technique section has videos on rolls and slides. I would highly recommend you check those out so you can spend some time on those before you get cracking into this tune, because that's something that we're going to be talking about, definitely putting into this tune. It's kind of hard to play this tune without them. So we're just gonna get them right into the tune right away. So we're gonna start off with a nice roll here. So I'm doing that with my third finger. So that's a third finger strike there, and then I'm lifting up with my first finger. So that's the first phrase right there. So we're starting on an E on the D string. And that's going up to the C sharp, B, and A on the A string. So if you want to play that without the ornamentation, it would be. But obviously that's totally boring. You want to put the... If you're just getting started up, not doing ornamentation yet, or not quite comfortable with it yet, you can take those out. But I would say just go ahead and give them a try. Next phrase. So that's going up to an F sharp here on the D string. And that's just playing around with the B and C sharp on the A string. And we've got a nice slide on that F sharp, C sharp, sorry. So that's going to be a fast slide because we don't want to really milk it there. It would sound weird if you did it too slow. See what I mean? If you just take the slide at a slightly slower pace, it suddenly sounds weird. So make sure those slides go nice and quick. You're just kind of just sliding right into the note. So the two phrases together sound like this. And then the next phrase. So we're going to go all the way up to the E string here. We're going to start off with an F sharp on the D string. Then you can add a little double stop on the A if you want to. And then on the A string, B, A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp. So far we have, starting from the first phrase. And so I added a little roll on that F sharp, which you can do. You can do a big double stop there, or you can add a roll. And here we are at the last phrase. So that is the last phrase of the first half. This is like the first ending here. So I'm up on my A on the E string, and I'm going to kind of roll off down to my F sharp there. So I'm going to hit my fourth finger on a nice B up at the top, and then just pull off down to the F sharp there. So that's pulling off to from starting on the A, pulling off to the F sharp, open E, and then down on the A string, C sharp, B, B. But instead of doing separate bows there, I'm adding a trill, and that's for a very good reason, because a lot of this ornamentation comes from the pipes or the whistles. It comes from wind instruments. So wind instruments can't change their bow. So you often find that on repeated notes like that, you're going to find a little trill. And that's actually coming from wind instruments. So that's kind of cool. So instead of... So that's C sharp, B, B, A, and down to the F sharp. And then we're ready to go into that first phrase again. So this last phrase is... with that first ending. So the whole thing so far sounds like this. So let's try that a little bit slower, starting on your E down on the D string. So now going into our second half of the A part here, it's just the same all the way through until a couple notes that are different on the end. See that? So it's actually easier than the first part. So we're starting on the A, doing that pull off there. And then just C sharp, B, A. big retake of the bow to repeat the whole thing. So that sounds like, you know, it's kind of structured as if it was a first ending and second ending. But we're going to repeat all of that again. So the A part is kind of 4 times as long, if that makes any sense. So we'll do all of that together. So here we go, starting from the top. So there we are. We have the whole A part there. So it's nice and simple. It just keeps repeating and it kind of just gets a little bit trancy in that first part. It's just really nice and comfortable, and you know, it's got all these kind of sloping up and down pieces of it, and it's just really, really beautiful. So once you've gotten there, we can move on to the B part, and this is where things start to get into this really sort of epic, triumphant sound. I guess it's sort of like, you know, it's just got this sort of anthemic feeling to it. So we're going to go on, we're going to start off with a 4 chord. We're going to start off with a D chord here. And so coming off from that pull off and going down to the A. Or you can do we'll work on the pickup in a minute. Let's just start from pickups can be, as we've talked about before, pickups can kind of be all over the place and they're very interchangeable. So you can decide whether you want to do a G sharp there or an F sharp. That would be perfectly fine. That's with an F sharp there. Or if you want to do a G sharp, which kind of goes along with the lines of the tune a little bit better. That's probably what I would do, almost by accident, because that's just kind of what's happening in the tune a lot. So it kind of matches the rest of the tune. So we're starting off with a big D here with a trill. Well, actually that could be da da da, could be 3 notes. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Yeah, I guess it's 3 notes. So we're really stretch that G sharp up there. That's really gonna be a good hand stretcher for this tune. So that's F sharp, G sharp, and then open A with a little strike there. You could also do a little strike on the first finger. Really whatever finger works best for you, but again, we're articulated 2 repeating notes there. That's what's happening. But instead we're playing a little trill there. Or a strike on the 3rd finger, whatever you want to do. But that is really going in line with what we did in the A part there. So and then the next part. So we're really hanging out on that G sharp. So that's G sharp there. Back down to the E on the D string. And then up to the B on the A string. that's open D. Woo, almost hit my G string there by accident. Sorry about that. So let's try that again. And then open A. The next part is. So see what happens there? We went to a D chord. And then we went to an E chord, E major chord. And then we're going back to an A chord. So in the key of A major that we're in, that is a 4 chord, a 5 chord, and a 1 chord. And that and then we're gonna go to the minor 6 chord. So we're gonna switch it up a little bit. But that is a little 1, 4, 5 chord structure, but we're not starting on the 1, we're starting on the 4. So it gives it a little bit of a major, regular major chord progression, but gives it a really different feel. So we have our D, starting on the D, and then E major chord. And then here is just this really beautiful, this is probably the prettiest part of the tune. Isn't that cute? It's just so simple, but adds so much. So open A to the open E, and then we're gonna go back and forth between the E string and the D, F sharp, and B on the A string. So that right there is just one bar. So if you want to break this down technically, this is in 9/8. So we have dum ba da 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 da. So we have, that's one triplet. And that's 2 sets of triplets there. You got that? So this is one bar. And it's in da 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 da. Still has that 3 sets of triplets sound. And then the last phrase is. So that's nice and easy. We have, so starting on the open A. So you can, instead of using a 4th finger, you can do an open string, but I think the 4th finger adds a lot there. It kind of adds a little bit of a scoop kind of sound. So open A down to the G sharp, down to the F sharp and E, and then back up to the A. And I'm playing the A with a 4th finger there, and then just doing a G sharp E. So you hear that, how that is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There we go. So those 2 phrases together that seem a little offbeat, even though they're not. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So for the mathletes of the group, that's what's happening there. I don't often talk about numbers quite in that detail because I don't want you to think about the numbers, but for stuff like this, it's kind of important to think about it for at least a second for everybody. So those 2 phrases together sound like this. Okie dokie. So let's do the whole thing we have so far, nice and slow. So starting on an open D string. So let's try that again, a little bit slower. Okay, so we'll do that, and the sort of repeat of that is exactly the same, only with less notes in it. So I'll play you that and then repeat it so you can hear exactly what's happening in the kind of second half of the B part. So it's going to be very similar to the A part in that the A part sounded like it was already repeated, but then we repeated it again. This is a very, very similar thing. And it's what gives this tune its kind of repeating, trancy effect. So here is the whole B part. And then we'll repeat all of that again. So we do it in total 4 times. And at the very end, we just play. And then go in, if we're going into the tune again. Or if not, then we just end it there. Or if you're going into another tune, then you will go somewhere else from there. So that's the whole thing. We have the whole B part already. So let's do the whole B part really slow, the whole 4 times through. There we have it. So that's the whole tune. So let's do the whole tune now. So we'll start off on the A part. And then the B part starts. Okay, so here we go. And there we have it. That is Soggy's slip jig. So if you wanted to take this up to the next level, the first thing to do is make it a little bit faster. We actually went through a bunch of the ornamentation, so I won't worry about that so much because that is kind of up to you from this point. There actually isn't a huge amount of room for more ornamentation than that. This tune kind of, you know, a couple of bells and whistles is great. But other than that, you're kind of like the structure of the tune is so nice that you just want to kind of add some nice dancey expression. So we'll talk about that, what that is exactly. So a slip jig is a type of dance tune, and it has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It has this very sort of loping feel to it. It's not like a jig where you're kind of expecting there to be a little bit more attack. And that's because a slip jig is actually designed, the design of this tune is very specific, or the usage of this tune is very specific. It's supposed to be, or in general, is used for lady dancers to dance, so women to dance, rather than men. Traditionally, men have not danced slip jigs, even though they dance all of the other types of things. For some reason, slip jigs became like a ladies' tune in the dance world. So you will only see women wearing soft shoes dancing to a slip jig. Traditionally, obviously now, you know, percussive dancers play around with all this stuff, and there's all kinds of modern things happening. But traditionally, this is sort of a very, considered a very sort of slow, loping, very feminine tune. So you can play that up, you know, by kind of, you know, giving a little bit more air to your bow. So I'm being very gentle with it, you know, just kind of letting it, you know, be a little bit bouncy and effervescent, but having it be very soft and gentle at the same time. Obviously, you can take this tune in the other direction if you want and have it be kind of a fiery barn burner if you want. You know, you can do that if you want to. If the situation calls for it, if you're playing with some other people that also want to play it like fast and loud like that, that's perfectly fine. If you were playing this at the end of the night in a session and everybody was already, their energy levels were already super high, that's probably how the tune would come out anyway. But if somebody was in their soft shoes trying to dance to that, they might they might object to that. So it depends on what situation you're in and want to do with it. You can decide what you want to do. So I hope you enjoyed this tune as much as I do. I really love this tune. I hope we can play it together sometime, and I will see you in the next video.